The development of cancer is similar to the gradual changes that Anakin Skywalker undergoes as he is lured under the influence of Emperor Palpatine to become the Sith Lord Darth Vader, turning his back on the Jedi Order to fight against the very thing he once served. In the same way, cancer cells were once our own healthy cells that have become corrupted and are now causing damage to the very body they were once part of. In our bodies, healthy cells peacefully coexist and often help one another carry out their essential functions. We can think of these healthy cells as a young Anakin Skywalker who did whatever he could to help the people of Naboo. However, if these healthy cells experience high levels of stress or are infected by certain bacteria or viruses, they can become altered, causing them to become cancerous. This was seen in Star Wars when Anakin started to receive disturbing visions of his loved ones, which led him to abandon his training and return to Tatooine in search of his mother. The anger he feels after his mother's passing, combined with the dark influences of Palpatine, starts Anakin's journey to becoming Lord Vader. This corruption by Palpatine is akin to a viral infection taking over the mind of Anakin, in the same way that a virus infects our cells and hijacks the cellular machinery. Palpatine is an oncovirus, a virus that causes cancer, and in the same way that Palpatine, despite being the Sith Lord Darth Sidious, hides in plain sight as a Chancellor of the Republic, these oncoviruses, which can include things like Epstein-Barr and hepatitis B, tend to not cause diseases in their host, but can lie dormant and introduce new genetic material into host cells that cause uncontrolled growth. Cancer is actually a name for a collection of diseases where cells behave abnormally, but it is characterized by the uncontrolled growth and division of our own cells, and ultimately manages to evade our immune system and promotes an environment where the tumour cells can flourish. In Star Wars terms, this is similar to Palpatine slowly corrupting Anakin, gradually leading him to the dark side to ultimately lead the Empire in their fight against the Jedi across the galaxy. Vader represents a cancerous cell, the Empire a growing tumour, and the Jedi Order is the immune system attempting to keep that evil at bay. The Jedi, especially Grandmaster Yoda, were aware of the potential of Anakin to become evil. However, they became powerless to prevent him from turning against the Order due to the deceit of Palpatine, and were too late in trying to eliminate the threat. In the same way, our immune system, although it can initially recognise cancerous cells, becomes ineffective in defending us as the cancer cells develop ways to evade the immune system. This increase in the power of the dark side is similar to a sequence known as the 3 E's of the immune response to cancer, standing for elimination, equilibrium, and escape. During the elimination phase, the immune system is on top, in the same way that at the start of Star Wars, the Jedi have suppressed the Sith. The equilibrium stage is where cells start to change and mutate to try and find ways to evade the immune system, but the tumour is not actually growing. In a similar way that Palpatine starts to manipulate Anakin, luring him towards the dark side, but he has not yet turned into Vader. Finally, the escape stage is where the tumour cells gain dominance over the immune system, and the tumour starts to grow, which is when Anakin's transformation to Vader is complete. So how does the immune system defend against cancer? Well, cancerous cells present abnormal proteins on their surface, which tells the immune system that something is wrong. When the immune system detects a cancerous cell, it deploys the body's main anti-cancer defenders, including macrophages, shown here as Chewie, natural killer cells, represented by Mace Windu, and CD8 positive T lymphocytes, depicted as Obi-Wan Kenobi. In Star Wars, as Anakin transitions to become Darth Vader, Windu senses a huge disturbance in the Force, and tries to prevent Anakin from crossing to the dark side, but he is ultimately unsuccessful. At the same time, R2-D2, who represents a dendritic cell, hurries back to the rebel base to present information about Palpatine and Vader's future plans to rule the galaxy to his trusted friends Leia and Luke, who represent CD4 positive and CD8 positive T cells. Luke and Leia start to form their own rebel army in preparation for the battle against the Empire. These abnormal proteins are presented by a molecule called MHC class I, which acts as a sort of self-identifier tag, allowing cells of the immune system to see what is going on inside the cell. Cancer cells are clever and can reduce the expression of these self-identifier tags to a level where the CD8 positive T lymphocytes are unable to see the threat. However, if there are no MHC class I presented on the surface, then the natural killer cells would recognise the cells as abnormal and kill them, as Windu finally does when he attempts to intervene to prevent Anakin's transition. So how is cancer treated? There are a wide range of options, including surgery to remove the tumour, chemotherapy and radiotherapy to destroy the cancerous cells, but these are really like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut, as the side effects can be pretty horrific. Scientists have been working to develop more targeted treatments, including cancer vaccines, which rather than prevent cancer, act to stimulate the immune system and help ramp up the fight. You can think of this as the Rebel Alliance growing in strength as they learn more and more about the Empire and how to defeat it. Another promising option is called T-cell therapy, where the T cells that are able to recognise cancer can be isolated from the blood and altered to make them better at destroying cancerous cells. We can think of this as a production of clone troopers with specific knowledge of the threat the Empire poses, being trained on Kamino to fight more effectively, and then being led into battle by Luke Skywalker. There is hope that this approach could one day be a universal therapy for cancer. Finally, checkpoint inhibitor therapy is another promising option, which involves blocking the signalling pathways the cancer cells use to evade the immune system. At the end of Rogue One, the rebels on the surface of Scarif are trying to transmit the plans for the Death Star to the rebel fleet, but the signal is being blocked by the Imperial Shield Gate. This shield gate is similar to the suppressive environment that a tumour creates for itself, but once destroyed, the plans could be transmitted, giving the rebels new hope in their fight against the cancerous Empire. Despite the rebels' best efforts, the Empire always seems to find a way to survive, and re-establishes themselves on another planet where the dark powers continue to grow once again in secret. Many cancers develop the ability to travel to other parts of the body, which is what we call metastasis. In order for the new tumour to be destroyed, the series of events covered so far have to be repeated. But the cancer is clever. It learns from its past encounters and operates differently than before. This makes it harder not only for the immune system to effectively destroy metastasized tumour formations in our body, but the same is true of anti-cancer drugs as well, which is why patients with metastasized cancers typically have poorer outcomes. In this episode of Immunology Wars, we have looked at how cells can become cancerous, and some of the ways our bodies can defend us against the threat, as well as some of the treatments that are currently available. We hope you have enjoyed this episode of Immunology Wars. Join us next time when we will be discussing vaccination in A New Hope.